I'll open this episode with a couple of pieces of news related to Atari's collapse in the 80s, and how the company subsequently buried piles of unsold games and accessories in the New Mexico desert. First is that a documentary detailing the story, called Atari Game Over, has now been released on Xbox Video. It's not been revealed when, or if, it'll be released on other formats though. Second is that those very games which were buried are now up for sale on eBay, although I imagine the prices may put most people off. Next up this month are a couple of successful retro-themed Kickstarters, the first being that the book Sega Mega Drive Genesis Collected Works, which contains interviews and artwork about the system, is now available to buy. A copy will cost you £35, that's roughly $55. The other Kickstarter project was one for a CD of Commodore 64 music, remade with modern audio technology. A digital version will cost you £15, but there's no release date set for it just yet. To round things off, an exhibition called Game Masters, featuring over 100 playable titles, is opening to the public in the National Museum of Scotland in December. Imagine Publishing has announced that it's secured the rights to ancient magazines Zap 64 and Crash, and lastly, Final Fantasy VII has been recreated in Little Big Planet. To start this section, the Wii U's eShop received a load of SNES ports, namely Mega Man X3, Mega Man 7, Wild Guns, Natsume Championship Wrestling, Breath of Fire, and Castlevania Dracula X. It also got the Game Boy Advance's Golden Sun, The Lost Age. The 3DS's eShop on the other hand gets Game Boy Color games Lufia, The Legend Returns and Pokemon Puzzle Challenge, as well as the NES's Mighty Final Fight. Ultimate NES Remix also landed on the service in Europe, and will be arriving in the US on December the 5th. On the subject of the 3DS, a remastered version of the much-loved Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, was also announced, and is arriving on the portable in spring next year. Next, a couple of pieces of mobile news, the first being Xbox cult classic Oddworld Stranger's Wrath is now available on iOS, with the Android version coming very soon. Second is that Bomberman has blasted his way onto both iOS and Android, but only in Japan for the time being. Last up, Duke Nukem 3D Megaton Edition, which includes the original and its expansions, Duke Caribbean, Duke It Out in DC, and Nuclear Winter, will arrive on PS Vita and PlayStation 3 in January. First in this section, a Kickstarter has been successfully funded for a component cable for the SNES and Mega Drive, with one costing you $35. The creator hasn't given an estimated release date for it just yet though. Talking of Kickstarters, one has also been launched for something called the hdmyboy, which will allow you to play Game Boy titles in high definition on your television. A do-it-yourself kit will cost €115, that is, if the project is successfully funded. Next, the Retron 5, the system which plays NES, SNES, Mega Drive, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color and Game Boy titles, is finally getting released in time for Christmas in the UK. But you'll have to pre-order it sharpish if you want it before the end of the year. Finally, a kit to output your NES in HD is in the works, and you can also order this custom wood-based Neo Geo MVS if you have money to burn. To start, some unofficial ports, the first being Donkey Kong Jr. for the Commodore 64, and second a take on F-Zero for the PC Engine, named Hue Zero. Second, the unreleased SNES spiritual successor to Turrican, Targa, has been given a physical cartridge release, but the first print run is only for 150 copies, so if you're interested you'd better move fast. Third, a demake of Super Smash Bros on TI-8384 calculators. I'm not sure what to make of this one to be honest. Moving on to upcoming games, old school style shooter Slave will arrive on the Dreamcast in April and will cost you $20.84 to pre-order. A Kickstarter for an NES platformer called Lizard was also launched and successfully funded in November, with the developer expecting the game to be out in March next year. 4 fan translations this month, Picross 2 on the Game Boy, Sayo Blade on the Mega Drive, and both Mizaze Top Pro Green Nikakuru Yum and Lagrange Point on the NES. Hey, thanks for watching. Please do give this video a like if you can, and share it with anyone you think would find it interesting or useful. Also, do say what you think of what's been covered in this episode in the comments section below. Are you going to sell your house to buy Analog Interactive's Neo Geo MVS? Or are you going to visit the Game Masters exhibition in Scotland? Let me know.
I can already feel the power surging from within.